Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to this Friday Substack Live. This was the week of many cool things happening. One is it was Veterans Day, and so we're gonna actually replay the video. We're gonna reveal the video, I should say, of the this week's episode with me and my brother talking about his journey from the Army all the way to editing the shop now for LeBron James and Fullwell and Spring Hill. This week also is the week that we are nominated for an Ad Color Award. So I'm actually at the Ad Color conference in Orlando. Well, actually, technically Lake Buena Vista, which is where Disney World is. I'm actually at the Coronado Resort in Orlando right now. And so I'm actually pre-recording this because at the very moment that this is broadcasting, I will actually be at the award show, and wish us luck. Hopefully, there's some positive news there. But just being here has already been amazing and positive. And so what I wanted to do is take about 15 minutes to really just share a couple things about what I learned here and why going to conferences is important in general, and getting outside of the bubble of LinkedIn, the bubble of Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, because one, you're only going to get snippets, right? To have really, really deep understanding of a topic and really learn something new, it takes some time. And so being at this conference was important to us. I've come to it many times, but this was the first time I was able to come and just learn and just be here to learn and meet people and not come with an agenda like working previously for a network, or trying to sell a particular TV show. You come to these conferences and you're looking to try to network with a specific purpose in mind. You definitely don't want to come with no purpose, with no idea of what you're looking to do, but you definitely don't want to be rigid and say, look, I'm just looking for this, because what happens is you miss out on so much opportunity. Really, really great panels. I did a short post about it on Instagram, but this is going to be a little bit more in depth. So first off, advertising is a huge part of our business, and I think, when I first got into business, especially, I think as a director, a producer, a writer, an actor, it almost felt annoying. Commercials felt annoying, or felt like a different business. It felt like I'm a creative. I'm doing my pure creative vision, and I actually think that there's a place for that, for sure. And I think that that's a place you should come from when you're trying to ideate and trying to come up with the best ideas. But then at some point you have to switch into the mode of monetization, and I think this all happens during the development process. There's nothing wrong with coming up with a great, really pure idea, and really once you get to the point of trying to figure out how to execute that idea, starting to think about partnerships. Just much like we think about, let me make this in the vein of something that maybe a Netflix or an HBO or an NBC would want to buy. You also want to think about, well, what would Chase Bank or McDonald's want to sponsor, if that's a sponsorship that makes sense for you, right? And so these are the kind of conferences where you can learn about what advertisers and what brands and what brand managers and what media planners and agencies are looking to do, what kind of partnerships they're looking to create. And they're on the same boat, right? They want an authentic experience for their viewer, for their customer, for their audience that they're marketing to. They don't want it to feel like they're overselling to anyone either. It needs to feel like an organic process. Mike, it's funny. All of these partnerships are relationships just like any other, right? Just like a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, or two friends hanging out. You want it to feel organic and seamless. And so, yeah, that's one of my big takeaways from these advertising focused conferences and events, is that there's a lot more synergy than there is disconnection. But if you're not in the room and having the conversation with those folks, it feels like the aims are two different aims when they're actually more aligned. But there is a process to figure out if there is alignment, and there is parameters, right? There's brand mission and brand focus, and then they have specific campaigns and timing, and windows. That's why the upfront window exists, because there's planning for the next year. So yeah, just setting the stage for what Ad Color is. So Ad Color is actually an organization founded by Tiffany Warren, and I'm definitely not an expert on it. I've been to it, 4 or 5 times, but during my time at Bounce TV, I got very familiar with these kind of events, and this is definitely one of or at this point, the premier event, when it comes to multicultural advertising conferences, where you're really gathering with this specific goal of having brands and agencies understand what the landscape is and the marketplace and the opportunities and just the community. Honestly, it really feels like a community around the advertising agency and brand management world. And so, in this scenario, we are, um, you know, here to do a conference. So basically, how it was structured was the conference has a few sponsors, more than a few actually, but the sponsors that I'm speaking of specifically would host different community sessions. So LinkedIn hosted a session, Apple hosted an after party, Peacock hosted or NBC Universal hosted a panel with the cast of Bel Air talking about brand integration. The LinkedIn session was really a speed networking session, but they, are really integrated into this whole world. They also did a panel, and that was an interesting panel because it was really, just giving advice on how to look at your career in this age of transition and change. And I think when we're talking about transition and change, I'm really talking about the business models that are basically, some are no longer working as well as they used to, or diminished returns, or budgets going down, and I think that, it's like water. I don't think it goes anywhere. It just may take a different form. And so that's really what the conversations were about there, and how can you be like water yourself, right? Like, how can you be flexible in your career journey, your career goals? No longer are the days where we, plan to go to college, get a job, stay there for 30 to 40 years, and get a gold watch. I think that was industrialization, period. And I think that we are in a different age, and I don't even know what we'll call this age, 100 years from now or 50 years from now. But I do think it literally is becoming a creator economy and less of a creative economy. What I mean by that is you have the ability, whether it's within your corporation or just within your own life, to create what you think you should be doing every day and what kind of jobs and opportunities you want to look for. And I think that's why this platform for me was important to do now, because in this conference was confirmation, basically. Like, we are focused on partnerships, and even within companies, being entrepreneurial within your job. And so that's kind of what I want to really touch on in this live. Is I don't think being an entrepreneur and being an employee have to be antithesis or the opposite type of words. What I'm finding is, inside of the companies that are more successful, they are creating business units within their companies and allowing their employees to really create and form partnerships and create and form opportunities. And I think that as you search for your next opportunity, you want to, not only come with that mindset, but a really good entrepreneur understands their marketplace, right? And I don't think entrepreneur means I'm going to do it by myself. I think entrepreneur means, oh, this is a great opportunity that you have, and I see there's this other opportunity that this company has, and let's figure out how we can partner and what makes sense. And it's not always going to be perfect or be instant. Sometimes it takes a lot of ideating. But at the end of the day, I feel like that's what I'm seeing a lot of at this conference in particular. With diminished budgets, there needs to be a combination of resources. I met a gentleman here that works with Google, and he does they have a partnership with the Golden State Warriors. There's a lot of videos about it that you can look up, but what he was sharing was, Google brought something to the table for the Warriors that they didn't do internally, and the Warriors added value to what Google did because of what their visibility, and it actually helped them. It's kind of like a new age Moneyball type of situation where there's analytics and data and things like that, and there's storytelling around it. There's jobs being created to operate it, and I just think that we have to think about this moment like that, right? Like, it's no longer, hey, this is my vision, I'm going to tell my story. It's like, hey, how can I take my skills and be additive to this ecosystem? And so today I'm in the ecosystem of advertising and brand management. But the podcast I'm about to play is in the ecosystem of labor and skills of editing and the journey that my brother went on from a veteran to an editor. And I think we all have these systems and ecosystems that we have access to, and we just have to figure out how to tap in. It's like double dutch, like jump roping. You got to figure out when your opportunity is to jump in. But what I tell people is don't look away, right? Because your opportunity may only be a moment. There are a lot of moments that happen that if you miss it, you missed it, right? And I think we're in one of those moments now where we're upskilling in this the digital age of AI and the technology moving really fast. The double dutch ropes are moving faster and faster, right? And so what I mean by that is, if you take a look at Facebook, I think it took them 4.5 years to get to 100 million users. And there's a chart, I'm sure, I don't have it handy, but there's a chart, I'm sure, that really expresses what what other platforms took, how long it took them to get to 100 million. But it only took ChatGPT 60 days to get to 100 million users. And that is the trajectory of how fast things are moving in this marketplace now. We really have to take a look at what we're up to, our timelines. And my contention, I actually got this from one of our board members, Floria Marshall. He said, if there's a really important project for your business, you should be able to come up with a plan to begin the execution within 90 days. And it could be phased out. It could be 4 90-day phases, but you really don't want to have the steps and the kind of milestones be more than 90 days apart. So with that being said, we're right in the middle of the last 90 days of this year. But I think this is the perfect time to get your plan together for the first 90 days of 2026. What does that look like for you in January, February, and March? What would you like to have done by the end of March, and how would you like to have that done? What does that look like for you? And it's funny for me. My last 90 days was getting this Substack and podcast platform launched, and my next 90 days is figuring out how to grow it. But I think we wanted to get started and be consistent first. And so even though I'm here, unavailable to get on the live at the time that I committed to, we did this pre-recording today so that we can be consistent and on time. And so I appreciate you joining. I'm gonna hit you guys with a little bit of news, and then we're gonna go right into the live with right into the podcast play with Charles Handy and his journey, my little brother.
It was a show that was on MTV at the time. It was called Friend Zone. So he basically just gave me an episode. It was actually an episode that already aired.
Right. But he gave me access to the footage so you could practice.
So I could just show him. It came in like a whole week, chopped up an episode. I had them sit down, do a screening with them. They watched the episode. They gave me feedback. This works, that didn't, whatever. And then I showed Ryan. He was like, that's the whole job right there. He'll say, if you want to edit, here you go. And, he's like, nobody ever does it.
Hello, I'm Ricardo Handy, and welcome to the Hollywood IQ podcast. This has been a dream of mine to have a place where creatives can really talk about the thought process behind building creative businesses. And those are a lot of conversations I have in my capacity as a television executive and as a founder of a nonprofit called the Handy Foundation, where we do workforce training in the Hollywood space. So welcome to the Hollywood IQ podcast. Let's get into this episode. Welcome to another episode of Hollywood IQ. This is a very special episode. I'm actually here with my brother Charles on Veterans Day. If you're seeing this and you have a veteran in your family, veteran that you know, especially a veteran in Hollywood, definitely let them know to tap in with this episode, because we're going to tease up some resources, but I'm going to put some resources in the link in the show notes, because I know there's a lot of veterans that don't know the resources they have available to them, and the options they have available to them to get into the industry, and I want to get into that with my brother Charles, who actually is not only a veteran but is now doing something pretty cool to help other veterans in television business. So let's get into it. Hollywood IQ, let's go. Back on the pod, Hollywood IQ, with probably the most special guest of any podcast I'll ever do, because this is my one and only brother, Charles Handy.
Applause.
We don't no applause on this show. We keep it okay. I guess we're applauding. This is my brother, Charles Handy. I want to just give everyone a little context. I'm 3 years older than my brother. So by the time he was graduating high school, I was 21. 2021, and I was already directing, doing music videos, things like that. And it was funny because I distinctively remember a few moments leading up to Charles joining the military where I was working on sets, and he would come, and he was always very interested in it and always around it. And even when we were in junior high school in Germany, he was always doing the video stuff. And if you've heard me talk about the Handy Foundation, or what I think, or what advice I would give to someone, or I don't know, any advice you ever heard me give, I probably tested it on Charles first. So he calls himself, what do you call yourself, Charles?
Well, I don't call myself.
You do. You be saying patient zero.
Yeah, but I don't go around saying that.
You've said it enough before that I remember it. So,
but yeah, if you want to, what you're alluding to is patient zero. It's like a zombie reference, but essentially, like when he does all these Handy Foundation mentorships, I basically was like the first person that was able to benefit from the Handy Foundation, essentially.
But this day today that this podcast is airing is Veterans Day. And I want to share because I think what's cool about Hollywood is anybody can, from any walk of life, any background, can come and learn some of these skills and have like a full career, right? And you're a perfect example of that. So in 2002, we graduated high school. 2001. Okay, my bad. 2001. But 2003, you go to the military. So 9 years later, right, you're starting this new career, it sounds like, and it sounds like it's overnight. But I don't want to skip over the part where you enlist for 2 years. 2005, you're back in the United States. But really, what really was it? What, 06?
March 05.
March 05. So March 05, you're in LA. You start logging. You start doing these things. When Charles first came, you were living with me. And actually, it's so funny. There's a whole show, Ride of Your Life. It's a TV show where I got to tell a little bit of story of giving Charles this car, and they give me a car and all this stuff. It was a cool like Motor Trend episode. But the premise of that moment was like what I do now today still. And I started it with Charles first, but it was like, look, I know some people that maybe can help, that get you an opportunity, and here's a computer, here's what the software we use. So I kind of distill it down. Like I showed him 10 things, but he had to do something with that. Why don't you just like share a little bit about your story from your veteran story and how that kind of led to, you being in the entertainment business?
So I joined the military in 03. I had a short enlistment, which is a 2-year enlistment. I joined post 9/11, so that's like after, the 9/11 attack, and essentially, like I got in. I basically just wanted the piece of the American dream. Essentially, go to school, go to college. And we come from a military background. My dad was in the Army. My stepdad was in the Air Force. Just chose to go the route of the military, so I actually could move to LA. And so after I served. I did one deployment in Iraq. Moved to LA. Started going to college for a bit of time, but then also kind of doing I did like dance events, like street battles.
At what point did you decide this is what you wanted to do?
When I first stepped into entertainment, the first thing I wanted to do was like, I'm gonna take all these dancers. I'm making like an N1 tour, like the N1 guys. I had this whole concept. And so I just learned, my mind was like, I'm going to learn how to edit so I can produce this show. Mm-hmm. And then when I was editing my shows, and I would edit battles, and I was on MySpace and YouTube, and I was just like one of the early adapters to that space. So my intentions were never to be like a TV person. The more I was editing, the better I was getting at it. I never saw myself being able to actually like make a career of it.
What I'm hearing from you, Charles, is you really had this vision of running these dance companies, and you were doing the dance battle. I mean, it was a big deal. Like, there's footage of it that we can probably share in the link too. Like, and to this day, Charles's handle is Dance Hustle. I know people that don't even call Charles, don't call you Charles. They just call you Dance Hustle, right? Or they call you Hustle, right? So that was your thing. That was your persona.
My first steps, and then I started PAing on different things, and eventually just kind of stopped school full time and got like a office PA kind of position at Rocket Science.
And for those that don't know, Rocket Science is one of the early unscripted companies that was making a lot of big shows, mostly all the Fox reality shows. So Trading Spouses, Big Fiance, Joe Millionaire. What shows did you work on at Rocket Science? You remember?
I think it was Trading Spouses. I can't think.
You probably worked on The Island too.
I worked on The Island, but then
that never came out. But
I worked on The Island, but I'm not sure if I was a P. I think I might have been a logger, but I might have been a PA still.
Did you feel like you were giving up on your dance dreams or your other things that you wanted to do?
I feel like my true sense of myself is more blue collar. I still consider myself like a skilled laborer. I just feel like I'm different in the entertainment space. I didn't feel like I was giving up on my dream. If I'm like buying a house, got my car, and like my kids, we're traveling, I don't feel like I'm missing out on life. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I feel good about it. So We was at like the Sage office or whatever.
Yeah, so that's like
in Pasadena.
oh, that's like 2012.
Yeah, so probably like 2012, and I was doing like different sizzles with Ryan Abbott, who got me into rocket science originally. Ryan Abbott, being who he is, he'll be like, "Yeah, just edit." You know, like if you want to.
And so, for context, Ryan Abbott is currently the head of post for Fremantle, but so this is actually the person that gave me my first job editing as well when I was 22.
It was a show that was on MTV at the time. It was called Friend Zone. So he basically just gave me an episode. So he was like, "This normally we take a week, we get an editor of the footage, boom. They got a week to cut an episode, and then they get notes, and they got this amount of time to do notes, etc." So I was basically like on a hiatus between shows. So I came in for a week straight, and I just edited a full episode. It was actually an episode that already aired.
Right. But he gave you access to the footage so you could practice.
So I could just show him and show
I didn't even think I knew that.
Yeah. So
Did I know that?
You probably did, but the thing is, so I came in like a whole week, chopped up an episode. I had them sit down, do a screening with them. They watched the episode. They gave me feedback. This works, that didn't, whatever. And then I showed Ryan. He was like, "That's the whole job right there." He'll say, "If you want to edit, here you go." And he's like, nobody ever does it. When you're an editor, you can pretty much make something that's cool, or being a creative. What I like to say is I get paid for the notes. I get paid to do the notes. Why do I say that? Because some people understand it, but even when I was going back to that editing session, sitting with the producers, sitting with the co-EP, really going through and running an edit session and not being like sensitive about your work or being attached to certain things. Running a note session with a producer or co-EP, that is the real job, really. You know what I'm saying? Because if you get a piece of content, you're going to make it the best you can. You're going to make it funny. You're going to make it sad. The network's going to come in. Or the producers are going to come in. The EPs, the executives are going to come in. The network is going to come in. The sponsors, and the branding, and the corporation is going to come in. The edit is still your edit. Whatever you make, your name is attached to it. If it sucks or whatever, right? But they're going to come in, hey, make this sad, take this out, change this shot. And you're still responsible to make it good. And so I always say you get paid for the notes.
Well, yeah. That's great.
Specifically, so Charles was the lead editor at Revolt. Jose. Like when they, actually, that's what's crazy. Revolt, the kind of first two people that were making all the content was Ace. Ace. And,
Ace actually got me into Revolt. He was in there as an AE, and I was in there, and like the first go round, we just need some AEs to work this weekend. And then Ace just kind of held it down.
A weekend job turned into like a year and a half.
Like it was like two years, like 3 years.
3 years for him, but you were there for like 6, right?
I was there for 6, but then the thing is, I was only supposed to be there 3 days. When I got there. But then when I got there for 3 days, I was like, oh nah, this was 2013. By the time I got to Revolt, I just bought a house and just had a son, just got married. So
you wanted a steady gig.
Yeah, so when I got in there, it was on. Nobody was going out hustle me, and I was gonna come early, I was gonna stay late. And I'll say this, obviously this my brother Ricardo Andy's steel sharpens steel. So and there was a time I would see you work on like real big shows or do it fast or whatever, and you'll just be like editing something so quick. So I'll be like, I can't do that. I'm not at the right level. But then I'm like, you start seeing other editors and you're like, stuff they were doing. And I was like, oh, I'm actually better than I thought. I might not be here, but I'm like pretty far. You're
professional. What Charles just distilled down is really like pretty much a 10-year journey, right? But I want to share what you're up to now, right? Because it is Veterans Day and a lot of veterans might be listening to this. So before we go into what advice you might have for other veterans coming up, I really want to talk about this new post you have, this new opportunity you just started with the Academy.
So essentially for the Television Academy, they have different affinity groups. So my affinity group is for veterans and spouses of veterans. And so I'm a co-lead in the program. Ironically, I think my first event might be for Veterans Day, literally. So
So when you're
we're
listening to
working
this,
this
that
out.
you guys
Yeah,
might be having an event right now, which is
yeah,
good though,
we're
because
working it out.
you know, if you're seeing this, we'll maybe even play this clip. If you're seeing this clip, and you're a veteran in the television business, or interested in the television business, we'll make sure we put some information in the show notes for people that are listening. What's the importance of a group like that for like, what do you think the importance is of a group like that inside of our business?
A lot of people would like to help veterans, I think. They don't necessarily know how. So it's a very small percentage of people who are actual veterans. It's kind of like a fraternity. Oh, wow, you was a veteran? So now we kind of got a list or access to each other. For instance, my co-lead is like a VP at Disney. She's like, oh, come to the lot, we'll do lunch or something. And I'm like, that's just based on us working in television together, serving in the military.
Yeah.
And so that's our connection. I mean, networking is great. Just having a community, and that's just one more community. Like,
Yeah. So what's interesting about this is
I'm saying a lot of interesting things.
no. What's interesting about this is like one thing that I did realize. So our father, rest in peace, who passed last year, was a veteran, but also really, it's funny because some of the things your parents say don't really land, when they're saying it. But one of the things our father always told us about was like just how to navigate veteran services, especially for Charles, especially for you, right? Like, I think a lot of that knowledge is going to be helpful in that role, because I'm sure there's a lot of veterans that are in television business that don't even know all the benefits they can get or how to access them. So I think you being a co-lead, you're going to have a lot of knowledge that you can give to those people.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm 100% service connected, disabled veteran, so definitely can help them on that.
The last thing I think I wanted to just mention on that front is, well, real quick too, this is actually one of the quotes. If you guys can see my shirt, this is one of the shirts we made for Dad's quotes. Yeah, it's a mad problem. But he would say like, use your mind instead of a nine, right? He was a teacher, but
3 people got shot in front of the liquor store on the corner of, Florence and Normandy. Tomorrow, when you decide to go buy some beer or something, which would be a good idea.
It's like, the math is easy.
It's like
3 people got shot there.
Yeah,
0 people got shot on this other block. I guess I'm gonna go to the block where nobody got shot at.
Is there a high probability of going to, you know what I'm saying? Just like trying to, he basically would break everything. And
also too, like when I first moved, because we moved to Germany to live with my mom and my stepfather. So when we went back to Oakland, my dad would be like, "Don't be out after a certain amount of time at night." Like, it's like, when do people get shot? Right? Sure. After 10 p.m. hanging out. So we weren't allowed to just hang out. Like, where were we at? You got to be a purpose there, because if most times if people are working or doing something with a purpose, you're less likely to just be getting randomly into trouble, right? Or randomly harmed. So don't hang out. That was a math problem too. Like, hanging out is how you get hurt, right? It's how stuff goes bad, right? Hanging out, especially on the corner.
Charles, did you have anything you remember your dad, like another saying that he would say? Because I love this stuff personally.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely was full of sayings. I would say probably, don't hate, participate.
Yeah, don't hate, participate.
He liked to rhyme.
Yeah. That was a big.
And you got to understand, my dad was a juvenile probation officer before he was a teacher. For people like Too Short, Silk the Shocker, he taught adult school for people that like Silk the Shocker. So he was around Oakland, a lot of rappers, a lot of games, a lot of OGs that, and that's just how they talk in Oakland too. Like, a lot of people just talk like that. But my dad took it, like it was a point of pride that my dad taught me how to sag. You know what I mean? He's the first person I heard Too Short with in the car. You know what I mean? Like, it was a different energy with my dad than, like, my mom was more conservative, if you will, Mm-hmm. But so we got 2 different sides of that. So yes, those. But Charles, just share what you're up to. I don't know what shows you're working on, and then just how people can tap in with you.
Yeah. So currently I'm editing The Shop. senior only editor on there.
So wait, go back it up. See, this is the kind of stuff that we don't even be talking about. Because Charles be like, yeah, I got the shop coming up. But in my experience, usually there's like a ton of editors. There's like 4 or 5 editors on the show. So what's the post makeup of the shop currently?
As far as editing, it's just me.
This is the kind of stuff you find out. Like, yeah, you know, it's funny. I'd be like, yeah, my brother's working on the shop. He's editing it. But I genuinely didn't realize until this moment you were like the lead editor, the main editor on the shop, the only editor on the shop. Yeah. But it wasn't like that always. It just kind of became that, or
no. So they started off on HBO. So pretty much like in the middle of season 6, they switched it to internally and just running on their own YouTube channels. 2.5 seasons, I've been the only editor. But when they were at HBO, I think it was only one editor too.
And it reminds me, kind of circling about the rocket science. A friend of ours, Jared Howe, the show, The Island we did for Rocket Science was the last show I did for Rocket Science. It didn't really, Jose. It didn't go as planned, if you will, right?
It never came out.
It never came out. I don't remember all that happened. All I remember is it was airing in other territories. They had to finish it, but there was no rush, right? And so it was one of those shows where you went from, 20 people working hard, right, to get this one season done in a very short amount of time to like, we need to finish it, but it ain't no need to air it right away. So they basically let everybody go and had one editor finish it. And I think it took Jared like a year and a half or almost 2 years. He was just doing that one show by himself.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
insane.
just to bring it full circle with, like the military, because that's the thing, nepotism or, connections. Yeah, you're going to need that, or that could help you. Community could help you. But the reality is, it's just getting your foot in the door. Like Ricardo Handy being my brother, that's great. But all he could really do, him and Charlotte, which is great, he can just introduce me. Hey, that's my brother. He's looking for a job to Ryan Abbott or something. That's it. That's it. Me having a military background, and coming to the entertainment industry, there was a level of like discipline and just ability to just, do stuff that most people might not be able to do,
But what's important that you said, and I think we can wrap up on this, because this was actually a point of contention in our relationship for many years, Jose. Like we would do you have siblings?
I have a younger brother, 3 years younger.
So same, right?
Yeah.
So imagine your little brother comes to you and says, "What did you used to say to me, Charles, all the time?" You don't remember?
I feel like you're going somewhere. You should just land the plane.
He don't like me to have him guess.
I mean, just land the plane. I don't know where you're going.
Because you used to say, "Well, how come you don't just hire me?"
Oh,
remember that?
I would say
you used to say that all the time, Charles.
I don't even know where you would have hired me to.
No. I mean, now in hindsight, but here's the thing, and this is the benefit of being a little older. My memory is going to be a little bit better on certain things.
I think your memory works. It works to shape the narrative that you want to say. So just say the narrative, so that way y'all don't have to be included in it. Just say the thing.
No. Coming up, you would be like trying to get into music videos, and there's certain videos I didn't really. My brother at the time was like 16, 17. And my mom is in Germany. I'm like, I'm not gonna have him in like basically R-rated videos, right? And like that was the first thing. And then later on, he was, I don't even remember exactly where this conversation would happen, but it would be around that 07, 08, 09 kind of time period when there was slow times. It was like, why don't you just hire me? Like, I just need to get a gig. Like, you got a show. Like, you don't ever. And what's funny is early on, I was always pushing Charles because I was still trying to come up too. And I only had a few shows, or I have a show here, a show there. So I never wanted anybody to be reliant. It's so crazy to say this, but I never wanted anybody to be reliant on me for a job. And so at that time, it was just Charles. Like, it was just a couple people like, I don't want that to fail. And then now I don't have a show, and we both broke. So I would always be like, no, what if you got to make sure you have, because I always say you need 10 people that will hire you to have a career. So when we set up the Handy Foundation, that was kind of also the mindset, right? Like, we want to give people the opportunity to get a job. So we don't want to be 100%, responsible for their entire career. Or else, when we fail or when we are slow, then they're not going to be working. And now that it's kind of been working, right? Like Ace, the person we were talking about, he went off and won an Emmy for Sesame Street, right? Editing on that, and now he's actually working on a show for me now. But it's funny. It came a point in time where I did want to hire Charles. But, he said my rates were too low. Yeah, I couldn't afford them.
Hey,
That's great.
great podcast, man.
Wait, hold on.
Thank you so much for having me.
So can you edit it for me? Can you edit it for me?
Carlo, thank you for having me so much.
This is great. All right, guys, we're gonna call it. We're gonna call it.
All right.
Thank
Good
you. Guys.
episode.
Thank you.
Later.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
That was a good episode.